Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. This week, we're going to jump into some current events. We just had the Stout Fights Muay Thai card last night. We're going to touch on some of that. We're going to touch on a fight that happened a few weeks ago. My brother AJ made his return to the cage after nearly a 5-year layoff. And we're going to finish the episode with some thoughts on the Craig Jones Invitational, which will be going head-to-head with the ADCC World Championships.
Very exciting.
Very exciting stuff. And we'll be following, it's kind of going to be like a little bit of a saga, and it's going to develop as it goes. So as we do our episodes that drop with current event related items, we will make our updates on that as well. So it'll be like a continuing segment until, post championships. I'm sure we'll do a little review on those. All right, so to start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about AJ's fight. So AJ had a 4-year, 10-month layoff from MMA, had some life events happen that he needed to personally take care of. Recently has moved to Michigan, training with Cody Heyer, Team Kohai, at Daniel Gracie Grand Rapids. Really great team, really appreciative of them for bringing him in, giving him a great support system. And he made his return. He fought in Chicago on May the 18th. I sneakily flew in for the fight, didn't let him know. Saw him after the fight, obviously, but I wanted him to feel like it was like his own thing, because everything up until this point has been like, for his combat sports career, wrestling, basically a sports career.
Right, yeah.
Wrestling, Little League Baseball, Little League Football, all that stuff. I've been heavily involved in, So, a little bit of a separation, let him, like, hey, this is your own thing, but still be there at the end of it, to be like, hey, you always have my support. So we'll talk about the fight a little bit. He fought up a weight class. He won, improving his record to 7-1 as an amateur. And he won a unanimous decision. There wasn't too much striking that happened in the fight. It was a grappling, heavy fight, very dominant performance. Thinking back to it, and all the striking exchanges, which, there wasn't terribly too many, but AJ, he didn't get hit at all. The only strike landed on him was off a glove touch in the second round, an inside low kick, like touch kick.
Right, yeah.
And then some strikes on the ground when AJ was on his opponent's back, the old, let me throw punches behind my head thing.
Which might as well not count.
Yeah, that was it. AJ, landed a nice face-slapping head kick, some good strikes, but primarily all the strikes led into his takedowns and some solid top control. So a really great bounce back fight. I think I mentioned up a weight at 135. He's a flyweight. He's a 25er. But he didn't look too undersized. His opponent definitely looked bigger than him.
I was gonna say he's a pretty tall 25er.
Yeah, he's a pretty tall 25er. He's starting to thicken up a little bit, so maybe 135 in the future. But I definitely think he's still a 25er. His opponent was bigger than him, and this was still amateurs.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like a look back at like how things turn out. He was signed to make his pro debut.
Yeah.
May 2nd of 2020. Right.
Yeah.
So he signed for his pro debut. Let's say it was probably like sometime in February. Signed the contract. Signed the contract for the pro debut May 2nd, 2020. Would have been at Meadows Casino in Washington, PA, and then a month later, COVID hits, cancels everything, shuts it down. The world gets flipped on his head. But, a nice little
return to
first foray back, and hopefully, we see things stay on the right track, continue on the right track, and, bigger than fighting, just like, keep progressing in life as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Congratulations, AJ.
All right, so we're going to jump into more recent fights. Just last night, we are barely 12 hours removed from Stout Fights Muay Thai 8. Is that the current?
I would assume so.
Given the Stout Fights Muay Thai 8. Not sure. But yeah, Muay Thai event went down at the Shriners Center. Always a good show put on by Stout Fights. Promoted by our very own Andy Anderson. So congrats, Andy, on another great show. There were 9 very good contested fights. And we're going to kind of lean into the 4 that, had our fighters on it.
Right, exactly.
All right. So I got to be just a fan last night, sit on the outside, hang out, watch the fights.
Didn't even make you wrap hands.
Didn't even have to wrap hands. Normally there's always something a little for me to do, which is bullcrap. don't see Will wrapping hands at the jiu-jitsu shows.
I would.
Yeah. All right. All right. So I'm gonna kind of lead us through. So let's start with our first fight of the night. We had Joao Martinez. This was his second Muay Thai fight.
Hold on, real quick before we dive into the actual fights themselves. I just want to say big shout out to Josh Polans and Ty. And actually, honestly, also Rico. He was covering a lot of my classes while I was out. I was obviously gone from the gym for like a month because I had that neck surgery.
Neck surgery, yeah.
And
did we have an episode released with you in the?
Oh yeah, we have two of them out with me in the.
Okay, so yeah, you guys are familiar with Will with the neck brace. He's got a nice little
scar there.
Scar going on the neck.
So I was gone pretty much the entire month leading up to these fights. So I just wanted to shout out the other coaches who like actually did the prep leading up to the fight. So. Thanks, Josh and Ty. And again, even Rico. Rico was covering a lot of the Fundies classes, even though he was fighting.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Player coach.
Exactly. But anyways, diving into the fight. So the first Stout fight we had...
It was Joao.
Was Joao. I think the best way I can wrap up this fight was after the fight finishes up, but before the decision is read, Chip, the ref, comes up to me and he goes, man, that's the sharpest I've ever seen his striking leg.
Yeah. And Chip's got to see Joao like a lot recently because Joao is now on his fifth fight, and he's like crammed them all into a short time.
Right. Yeah.
And I think out of the 5 fights, Chip refed 4 now.
Yes.
Right. I would assume the only one who was the ref for
at USK.
It
was
not Chip, but like it.
Yeah, it was
like
someone
Keith
else.
Peterson or something.
Might have been Keith Peterson.
Yeah, but like but regardless, just not Chip.
Exactly.
So, but all of Joao's MMA fights have been either Chip, or if there was a second ref, maybe the second ref. But then Chip's there.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's seen his whole career. Yeah.
And and I couldn't agree more. I thought that his striking looked really, really sharp. I thought he did great positionally. I thought that he, made good strike selections, which honestly, like anything under 7 to 10 AMI fights, like that's what I'm really looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can you do those under pressure and perform? Obviously there's things that I would like to see more of. Multiple strikes, maybe throw in combination a little bit more. A couple little odds and ends that we want to clean up technically, but overall just fantastic performance. He landed a lot of real hard shots, landed some good head kicks. Got to sneak his he's got a good question mark kick. He threw that in there.
Nice.
At the very end, got some spinning attacks in there.
Yeah, he likes fun stuff.
He sure does. He
fights to do fun stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was just cool to see him like look pretty free and flow. Yeah. And just really dominant. He didn't really get hit that much. He landed on like pretty much every time he threw. That's why I was just like, just do more. Like when you're throwing, you're landing. So at this point, just throw more.
Yep.
But yeah, just overall dominant performance. Very, very happy with Joao.
Yeah. Tough opponent though.
Oh yeah. Very tough opponent from the Matt Factory. With obviously our
Yeah, I didn't even know we were fighting them. We
had 2.
It's like we had 2 against them, but it's just it's just like the way that we look at it. It's like it's just amateur Muay Thai.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, just like we grapple against them all the time.
Right, exactly.
As well, we rarely fight against them in amateur MMA, but we have matched up on occasion when it's like, hey man, like we can't get these guys. Like it's tough to get these guys fights. Let's do it.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? But really great friends of ours. I was actually hanging out in their locker room before the fight.
Yeah,
like with them, and I didn't know that they were fighting our guys until the fights, until they were in the ring. I was like, oh shit,
dude, I forgot about that. So initially, like Pat and Carly came back in like the same locker room as us, and I was like, yeah, what's going on, guys? And like it was just. It just completely slipped my mind that our guys are competing against each other, and then eventually they went to the other side. Yeah. But it's just one of those things that you don't really think of. And
I mean, you see them so often. It's
right.
Just but good experience for all those fighters.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing is if this was, I don't know, like a pro MMA fight or something, we wouldn't do that, because there are other options. But the problem is in a smaller ecosystem, in a smaller combat sport, in Muay Thai, sometimes you just got to take the fights you can get. And, Chip is there to keep people safe. They've got their headgear, we're getting experience.
After the fights, I would love to talk about headgear.
Me too. I would love to talk about headgear.
Okay. All right. So let's move forward. So our next fight was Jake Perry.
Jake Perry.
Looked like a dog.
Also fighting the Matt Factory.
Yeah, also fighting the Matt Factory. But Jake definitely came out strong. Like from my perspective, I was standing up in the crowd. He looked tremendous.
Yeah. I mean,
coming in as 0-2.
Right.
Like he's 0-2, and like the way he looked, you're like, dude, like who's lying?
Right.
Who's lying?
So here's the thing: his first fight, right? OCL. He fought a good opponent. He had a good fight. I can't remember the details perfectly. I remember watching the video, but
because we were in West Virginia cornering.
Right. Exactly. But I do remember like it was a good fight, and he's never been like dominated. Like it's one of those deals where it's like, yeah, you lost a fight, but like
you also don't know who you're fighting like early on.
Exactly.
Too, right. Like you know what I mean. Like if at the end of like let's say the end of like a 3-year run, like you got guys like this guy's 6-1, this guy's 7-2, this guy's 5-0, right? And then this guy's 4-1. Like you know what I mean? Like, well, what if like
that guy started 0-0?
Yeah, they all started 0-0, and like, what if those were your first 2 fights?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, we didn't know that's what like that these guys were going to turn out like that, because you think about your first fight is like, okay, we're going to build, we're going to build, step up at a time. The problem with the first couple fights, like maybe the first or even the second fight, is like you don't know anything about this other person, right? You just know they also don't have an experience, but like they could be the next kid who goes 7-0,
and also they don't have any experience in a sanctioned fight. But it's like, does this dude have like 20 years of training? You know what I mean? Like you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
He ran into some killers, and then his second fight at TBA. I forget if that kid,
was that at TBA's.
Yeah,
that's what I was asking, and someone was like, no.
It was definitely TBA's.
Okay, yeah.
I was in the corner. I remember
because I was like, Jake should go to a tournament. Yeah, but so he did. Okay,
he did, and the kid he fought, I forget if that kid ended up being the champion. Doesn't really matter. The dude was really good. He was super tall, and the dude just like threw long strikes and then crashed into the clinch, and the dude was real good in the clinch. Yeah. Not to say Jake didn't have some things that he could have improved upon there, but but again, it's not like one of those fights where you're just like, oh, that dude, he doesn't belong here. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So again, we have this guy who's 0-2 on paper, but we all know like Jake's real good.
Just started off with 2 tough matchups.
Right. Exactly.
So, now he's 0-2 and up. Well, no spoiler, 0-2 and 1 because the fight got rolled to no contest. Got to be one of the best 0-2 and 1 fighters in the nation, dude.
For sure.
Got to be.
For sure. It was a very short fight. It was, about 30 seconds total?
30 seconds. He had a good sweep from the clinch, some good clinch work, and a strong teep. Just like in the short time, a lot of good work. And unfortunately, an accidental, an unintentional knee to the head.
Yeah, it was hard to tell if it was to the head or it might have been to like the chest or something, and I'm not sure which knee it was that actually finished him.
Like in the crowd, like from where I was. So like the way I'm looking at the ring, they were in the top left corner from my perspective. So for you, they were exactly cross corner.
Straight, yeah,
caddy corner from you. But they were top left. Like if I'm looking at the ring, top left corner. And it looked like a knee to the body to me and everybody around me. But upon video review, it did hit the head.
Yeah. So
we got a video.
This is an interesting thing too, is like I did get to watch the video back. You and I just watched it right before this. And it's weird how you remember things and then how they actually play out.
Dude, yeah.
I remember it being fairly close to that, but not exactly. Yeah. And Chip even asked me, right? So as soon as it happens, like it's a strange situation, right? Head to the ground, or knee to the head of a grounded opponent. But in amateur Muay Thai, like you're not allowed to knee the head of a grounded opponent. But if they bring their head down and you were throwing a knee to the body, then it's legal. I've only seen that being called properly one time though. But anyway, so it's like a screwy situation. It doesn't happen that much. And Chip immediately starts talking to Pat, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, kind of like, chiming in like, hey guys, like this is how the rules work, like obviously you're gonna see it how you saw it. Chip comes and asks me, he goes, hey, was he down? And I was like, look, I don't think he was, but I'm biased, so like, it is what it is, and obviously we don't do continuous motion in the States, like that's what I would have argued if we were like in Thailand or whatever. But I was like, I think he was up, because in my mind his knees were like still off the mat and he's going down when the knee lands. Nah, we watched the tape. He was down. He was definitely down.
He's down.
Now, here's what's weird about it. So, okay, so he had him, in the plum, throws a knee to the body. That's what initially starts getting him to go down, the opponent, right? And then he hits this little short knee while he's, down. The short knee, it's kind of hard to tell if he like walked into it, if he intentionally threw the knee, if it was continuous motion. You know what I mean? It's like one of those weird gray areas. And I think in Thailand, they probably would have said continuous motion, all good.
Yeah, for sure. But
we're in the States. And
and we're fighting the rules that we're fighting.
Exactly. So under that rule set, whether the knee landed to the chest, to the head, it was a downed opponent.
Yeah.
And he couldn't continue. No contest was the correct decision. So, no argument from me there.
Yeah.
But with that said, for no contest, I thought Jake looked fantastic.
Yeah, and it's like, it's an amateur fight, so the result's the result. But what you pull out of it is like the experience and the performance of it, right? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what they could have, if they would have ruled that, a knockout victory or a disqualification loss, it doesn't change
what
the
happened,
experience that you had.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, congrats to Jake for getting that experience, and hope the opponent's okay. And
Chico's a tough dude. He's fine.
Yeah. I sparred with him, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or something.
Yeah.
And tough kid.
Yeah, for sure. He's a Mat Factory guy.
Yeah, anyone who comes from the Mat Factory,
standard.
like,
I think if you're not tough, they just like kick you out.
you just can't hang. You know, like that's the thing. Anyone who comes from the factory, I'm just like, okay, you're gonna be a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be super tough.
Super fucking tough, yeah.
Because just like Isaac, just flows down into the rest of them.
Oh yeah, dude, he's the greatest.
Yeah, solid dudes. Love them.
All right, so let's push forward here, and we're gonna go to Hugo.
Our next one was Hugo. Yeah, so Hugo, he's had a little bit of a hot streak here.
Dude, so hold on a second. Is this Hugo's second or third Muay Thai fight?
This is his,
like Muay Thai, or like Muay Thai / kickboxing.
Right, yeah.
Well, he fought on the last Stout fight.
Right, he was on that Stout fight. So I'm trying to think if he
was that his first one? And then he did 2 amateur MMA fights with the Pit MMA club.
Yeah.
But like, so is this his fourth? I think it's his fourth fight.
I believe so.
And he's 4-0 then.
He sure
but
is.
2-0 in each martial art.
Right, exactly. Both of his wins in the ring by stoppage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
he got a TKO in his first. What was this last one? Did he win a decision?
I believe it was a decision.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so he's been just like,
dude, he's such a goofy kid.
He's so goofy.
Such a goofy. It's like,
Dude, actually, I had a moment when I came back to the gym, after the surgery, because like, when I met Hugo, he was, I don't know, he's like 18 or something, you know what I mean? He's just like,
and now he's like 19
a big goofy kid. Now he's like at 19 or 20. And I remember in practice, I looked at him and I go, no, he's like not like a little kid anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's weird how like, in those few years you see these kids grow. Same thing happened with like Brody. Like, I saw like a picture of Brody when he like first started the gym. I was like, oh, he was a kid, and like now he's like
Brody's
a dude.
A man.
Yeah,
he's a man now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I avert my eyes when I'm around Brody. No, I'm just kidding. I'd beat the shit out of Brody. Break his leg.
But anyways, back to Hugo. So Hugo, last night he experienced some adversity.
Which
I was happy
he
about.
He got kind of like
his opponent came out real hot. Landed some, big hooks to the head, and Hugo, you could tell he wasn't like wobbled, but you can just tell he,
Dude, he came through composed.
Right, exactly, and that's what you want to see.
Just like, and he's young. So not only is he early in his career, but he's also young, right? And I don't know too much about his like childhood background, but he does not give me the vibes of someone who's been like banging it out in the streets.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think he's got like 20 concussions under his belt,
Yeah, meeting kids at the baseball field and slugging.
Getting jumped into gangs and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hey, I could be wrong, but like I don't think so.
So yeah, like it was good to see that he faced a little adversity, came through composed. During that round, he like started turning around himself, and he like listened to the corner well, and
listen to the corner or listen to his coaches.
Listen to his coaches, and he did a really good job of like turning that around, and then in between rounds, we were like, as we always do, slow it down, calm it down, and I was like, look, I don't know the score of that round, but like, this is a complete reset. I need you to come out, and all I told him,
he stung him up at the end of the round. He had him like wobbling on the ropes and stuff. So like you don't know the score of that round, but I know where the momentum's going.
Exactly. So I was like, look, hard reset. We're just going to go into the second round. And because it did get a little bit slugfesty at points, right?
Yeah.
And all I told him was, I was like, I just want sharp punches. I was like, don't try to take his head off. Just sharp punches down the middle. Because Hugo's super, super tall. And if he can just, stick those jabs. The other thing is, I was like, dude, your post block's working really well, but now you got to use it. There's 3 seconds at a time, which in a fight is an eternity.
Yeah.
Where Hugo's just post blocked out, and the dude's like hucking at him, and it's like big brother type stuff. And I was like, Hugo, use it.
Yeah.
So that was mostly the messaging that I gave him in between rounds. And then second round, he comes out, he's sticking, and then I believe a teep to the chest that put the guy down. And I don't know if he knocked the wind out of him or the dude was rung up from something else, but
I think there was a lot of volume.
Yeah, leading up to that.
It. Mm-hmm. Like a Diaz-esque type.
Right, exactly. And sometimes, especially, again, Hugo's a big, tall kid. A big giant foot crushing a teep in your chest, your head can rattle around too.
Oh yeah.
Whiplash. So exactly. So I don't know exactly what the mechanism is that stopped that fight, but middle of that second round, it got stopped. So
there it is. So another good win for Hugo.
Yep. Congrats to
Keep
Hugo.
him moving forward. I want to talk with him this week.
Yeah, I actually, right before this, I texted him. I was like, hey, man, you want to get a fast turnaround? Maybe we get you on that 247 card. And I'd forgotten he's going to do some Army stuff. And then
that's right.
He has, I believe there's something in the works with the college MMA thing. So he's promised me that he's going to double down on jiu-jitsu.
Now, hold on. The college MMA thing, that counts, right?
Yeah, on their amateur record, I believe
so. Yeah, so he's 2-0 amateur.
Dude, where was that when I was in college?
Bro, here goes my question about it. Never mind. We'll talk off camera, and then maybe it'll be another topic.
Okay.
But let's remember that I want to talk about the college.
Although, dude, I say that now, but when I've been editing pods, there's a million times where we're like, oh yeah, let's talk about this afterwards. We never do.
All right. Well, hopefully we remember this one. Okay.
All right.
Oh. Okay, Rico. Was Rico the main event last time as well?
He sure
was. I know he wasn't scheduled to be the main event this time. Something happened with the main event. It fell off last second.
Right.
I think both made weight, but something with a rehydration issue.
There was some stuff that went on.
Yeah, I was talking to Hunter and Ryan, and they said like something difficulty rehydrating or something.
We'll talk afterwards.
Okay.
So Rico stepped up yet again into the main event, and a couple things that are just related to the fight, sort of. So, this is definitely fight related. One is his opponent was 0-0.
Yeah, and Rico was 3-3.
So good.
So Rico has 6 fights. Dude, I said the same thing because I was in the locker room when the fight, like around the time the fight got accepted, and Polance was like, we told him he's 3-3, right? And like someone was like, yeah, they know. They said they didn't care. And he's like one of the, just one of the only guys who you get the match made,
right?
You go and stuff. We're like, yeah, told him he's got 6 fights, right? He's like, yeah, they said they don't care. And right then, that's concerning to me.
Right.
That concerns me. It's either a completely negligent coach.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's yo, if I'm putting you up against a 3-3 for your debut, I think you're for real.
Right.
So that does give me a little bit of oh, what else does this kid do?
What's going on? Because also, it's not like Rico's a bad 6-fight fighter. You know what I mean? Rico's the man.
Yeah.
And also Rico has one of those styles. There's certain kind of like you in MMA, right? Where an explosive wrestler with good hands. No one wants to fight that, right?
Right.
No one wants to fight Rico. Rico switches stances. Sometimes he's totally down to get into dogfights. He'll pressure. He's mean in the clinch. He kicks hard. Rico's not a good matchup for anyone. So the fact that they took this fight, hats off to that kid. He was a really good 0-0.
Really good.
Really good.
Really good 0-0.
I was very impressed with that kid when he was coming.
Yeah, dude, and this kid's making his debut in the main event now.
Yeah, and he was 21.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's gonna be good.
Oh yeah, I was telling him on the way out. He's obviously bummed.
Yeah,
he just lost.
That's the only thing is it's how do you how do you deal with the disappointment? Which is hopefully from the 10,000 foot view, you're this doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it's you in it, it's the most important thing that has ever that's the most. You're 21 years old. You want to be a fighter. That's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. I remember my amateur debut. It was to me, it was if I won, I was allowed to keep fighting. If I lost, I wasn't. You know, it's like, okay, especially in that era, it was 2007. It's like, you know, you just dropped out of college. It's like, what do you do? Like, for this, what is this UFC stuff? No one even knew what the UFC was. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the Ultimate Fighter, like, one had just barely happened.
Right.
You know, most people still didn't know what it was. It wasn't even legal in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, dude.
You know? And it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, like, are you wasting your time doing this? So it was like, well, if you lose, I felt like if I lost, I had to quit.
Yeah.
Like, I had to win to prove that I was allowed to do another. Right? And I felt like that for, like, the first couple. Like if you don't win, like you have, like, it was like a tournament, like, for your career.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
you had to advance in order, or else
Single
your career was
elimination.
over. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully this kid doesn't feel that way because he was really
Well, I
good.
think it's more accepted nowadays, but still,
Oh,
you never
for
know how
sure.
they take it.
Yeah, exactly. But not to take away from Rico's performance, Rico looked awesome.
Sure did.
Rico had some great setups. He had some good feints. He he landed some fantastic body kicks that I was like really impressed by. Rico was doing a really good job controlling and manipulating positions. You know, he was switching stances, like, you know, that's like a very Rico thing to do. But he wasn't doing it unnecessarily or foolishly. So yeah, really, really impressed with that. I would have liked to see more clinch work because the only time they clinched up, I remember Rico looked really, really good. And that is something that, you know, we take pride in and spend a lot of time on in our gym. But other than that, I mean, yeah, he looked fantastic. You know, to get nitpicky, I would have preferred to see him perhaps move his head a little bit more and get a couple more counters off. But I mean, who couldn't you say that about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic. And also, this is the other thing I was going to talk about. Dude, walking out with the Haitian flag. Dude, the Haitian flag is super cool.
Yeah, I missed the walkout.
Whatever. I'll show you a picture of the Haitian flag later, but it's got like cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, very impressed with Rico. You know, hopefully we can get him, you know, turned around quickly, get him another fight soon. I would like to see that. I think Rico's one of those guys that he could fight like very often. You know?
What weight
I think
does
he
Rico
wants to
fight?
as well. That fight was at 140. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a little bit undersized for 140.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing him maybe make 35, 32, something like that. So
Okay.
we'll see where the future takes us. But
Nice.
but I know he wants to get back in there soon, so maybe we'll see him very soon. We'll see.
On the 29th?
I sent him a text too. We'll find out if he wants to get on that card.
Nice. All right, cool. All right, so yeah, I mean the team did well. 3-0-1.
3-0-1. I think that the card ran smoothly.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I loved it. I left and it wasn't dark out.
Dude, that was the other thing. The fight started at 6.
But they didn't.
Oh, they didn't. Yeah, exactly.
Which thankfully they didn't, because like I was yesterday was Mickey's birthday, my son. So like we were like, you know, like took him to the store, pick out some gifts and stuff. We went to the zoo, which we do all the time, but like we got to go with the whole family, which is like rare.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, we're just like, you know, having a fun day. And the fight started at 6. Dude, I got there like 6:20, and like boom, I walk into like the national anthem and I'm like, yeah, sick.
Yeah.
And I was like joking. I was like, yeah, they were waiting for me.
I mean, here's the thing: is like that's not very uncommon in
Yeah, no, that's not uncommon.
you know,
Yeah.
local fight cards.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather you start a little bit late than early.
yeah, and that's the thing. Gives people time to get in. You know.
Yeah.
No, actually, here's how I think it should run. To be honest, like if I was Andy running the show, or like anyone who's running a show, is I would say like fights start at whatever 6, 7. I would have a hard start of like 7:15 or whatever
Yeah.
in my head, but I would have some sort of like
Something going
entertainment.
on during that.
Whether it's like UFC style like promo videos of like these are the fighters tonight, you know what I mean? Because like, have you ever watched fights with someone who doesn't know anything about the fight card and they're just like not interested, and then like I'm talking like the UFC, and then they like show like, you know, a minute and a half of like, this is this dude's story, and then a minute and a half of this is this guy's story, this is their beef, like this guy beat this dude's teammate or whatever, and like it's, oh, now I'm interested. So, you know, have 15 minutes or something like that. Just give a quick little rundown of the card. Maybe like we discussed in one of the pods that's probably coming out after this, like rundown of rule sets or like whatever.
Yeah.
And then start the fights at 7:15. That way, people who are running a little bit late, getting into their chairs, grabbing a beer, whatever, get a little time. But
Right.
that's neither here nor there. It worked out nicely. And overall, I thought it was a
All right.
good card.
There's one more thing I want to talk about is headgear.
Oh, yeah. Let's discuss headgear.
All right. So do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I mean, here's the thing. I'll just start with I'm not a fan. I do not like headgear.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I could go forever about this. Do you want to get something in first? Because
Yeah, okay. So here goes what I'm going to say. So since headgear is required at the moment, right? Dude, I can't tell you how many people would benefit from having a properly fitted headgear. Like,
brother,
like one combination, adjust, twisted, adjust. I'm sure that there were maybe half the card probably didn't even spar in headgear leading up to it. Like, it is a game changer. When you were wearing headgear, you feel like you're a little closed in. It messes with your field of vision. What you're used to like slipping and stuff is now getting like caught and pulled. Like, you gotta, like, I would recommend to anybody fighting under this rule set to spar with headgear for like a month leading up to your fight.
Oh yeah.
Right? You got to get used to it. Invest in a good one, right? Because like, if you get a properly fitted headgear, you know, like, it's gonna keep your, like, it's just it's more so as if it's not there.
Right.
It doesn't become a burden. You see the headgear be a burden in every fight, almost every fight you saw.
Yeah.
Like one combination, one clinch, headgear adjustment.
Yep.
And it's like, man, is this becoming more then that begs, is it more detrimental than it is beneficial? You know?
My response would be yes. Also, well, hold on. Before that, did you ever see the? I forget if it's like a video or picture of Izzy, and he's training, and he's wearing like rugby headgear.
No, I have not.
And it's like very conformed to the head. Like, I was like, that might be the move right there.
Rico's top 10 headgear is it similar to that?
Very similar to that. So
Rico had the best headgear on the card.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Open face, low profile, and fairly well adjusted. I had a top 10 headgear back in the day. Warren made us get them, like back in the day, because it was the most lowest profile that offered headgear-like protection.
Yeah, so I went through, like, you know, when I was obviously in amateur boxing, headgear, you spar with headgear, you fight with headgear. So, you know, I just got a pair of USA Boxing approved headgear so I could wear it in fights and when I was practicing. And I remember, like, being, you know, dumb 18-year-old, whatever, and being like, all right, like, I want to get the ones that go here because then that's going to, like, help protect so I don't get, like, you know, black eyes and whatever. To any young fighters out there who are thinking about using headgear, God, I have so many mixed opinions on this, but regardless, if you're going to get headgear, maybe you need it for whatever, just go with the most open face possible, right? Like, it's not to protect your face.
No. This is, like, some people use headgear for certain instances, like maybe like you have a broken nose.
Right, and then
you're going to get the bar.
Yeah,
you're going to get the... So, like, I mean, if you're that serious about fight, you're like that deep into where you're training through a broken nose, you probably are at the point where you're able to buy yourself equipment for situations, right? Like, I have a knee brace that I wear if my knee is hurt.
Right,
you know
right, exactly.
Right, like stuff like that. So yeah,
assuming
but other
that
than that,
healthy,
assuming you're healthy, like the most open face
exactly,
you can.
because you just need to be able to see. The other thing is, you think like, oh, I want it thick because then it'll absorb stuff. But again, if it's right here and it's thin, you can still see up. Whereas if it gets thicker, now that starts to impede your field of vision.
Yeah. And when it starts to tilt,
down, exactly, it becomes a real issue.
And I would say, like, the field of vision that's the most dangerous part,
dude, by a long shot. I remember when I first started, like, sparring with you guys. You know, I'd be wearing headgear, we're boxing, whatever, and then, like, we started, you know, doing some stuff without headgear, and at first I was, like, terrified. I felt, like, so, like, naked, and, like, my head was, like, fragile. And then I started to figure out, I was like, because I have, like, a very slick style, like, kind of in the pocket, well, not necessarily in the pocket, but, like, you know, I'm not opposed to staying in the pocket and, like, just, like, moving a little bit. And I started noticing, like, oh, wow, all these punches are sliding off me that in the past would have caught the headgear and whipped my head around.
Yeah.
And then that's, like, exactly what some studies that, like, the Olympic boxing team had done or sponsored or whatever were finding. And that's why in the Olympics they no longer use headgear because they found that it's more dangerous. So I think that, one, the fact that it can catch and whip your head around, which is what, like, actually damages the brain.
Yeah.
And two, it impedes your vision. in my opinion, headgear is only
I think the impedance of vision is like huge.
massive.
Huge. Like if you can't see, like you are at risk.
And here's the thing, we're a little biased because our style is very vision based and elusive, right? So I could see if you're the type who like you're just like, I'm just gonna shell and walk forward. Like, yeah, maybe headgear helps you. But like if you're trying to not get hit, nah, headgear is not the way to go. And I think like you were talking about in competition like this, like it impedes more than it helps.
Yeah.
So I would like to see headgear just gone. Make sure that you've got good quality gloves, Vaseline up, good to go.
Yeah. Now, could you imagine if they did headgear in MMA? How horrible that would be.
It'd be terrible. You wouldn't
Just
be able to get
ruin
at
the
chokes.
grappling.
Yeah, it would just
Yeah. Good thing they don't do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I
Would
feel
you
about it.
rather see headgear? Never mind.
The other thing is, and like just to kind of like play devil's advocate, in like traditional martial arts, you know, one of the reasons that you have headgear is because like I did a million traditional martial arts tournaments when I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
And they'd be on like gym floors.
Yeah.
Like a school, so it's just like wood and they'd tape it off and they'd have
Yeah.
4 dudes sitting in the corners, which dude actually maybe we should have a different pod, but I could tell you a million stories about like those tournaments and stuff and like good, bad, ugly. But anyways, part of the idea was like if someone fell down or got knocked out or whatever, like then it protects your head from bouncing off. So like if that's kind of like what they're worried about, like something smaller, like what we were talking about before, like what Izzy had, or even in martial arts sometimes they would have like basically like a headband with a pad on the back of the head.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just get rid of it. We fight in rings that are legit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on. So we're going to talk some Craig Jones Invitational.
I've been looking forward to this
All
because
right. Let's jump. Let's do it.
I am very interested in this subject and I know very little.
All right. So should I just talk about it a
Give
little
a
bit?
quick, like, you know.
All right. So here goes what's
summary.
happening. So the premier grappling event happens every other year. It's on like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So like the last one was in 2022. Now 2024. Prior it was every odd year, 2019. But obviously we had some issues with COVID, so it pushed the qualifiers that should have happened in 2020 got pushed back, which pushed the World Championships back. But nevertheless, it's the most prestigious grappling event in our sport, the ADCC World Championships. And there is some grievances, specifically with Craig Jones over the compensation that the athletes receive. For example, since basically somewhere around the beginning of ADCC championships, the winner receives $10,000
The winner in a weight
in a
class,
weight class,
right? Okay.
right? I believe the super fight and absolute winners are 40.
That sounds right.
Right? Not 100% on that, but I feel like I've heard that. But nevertheless, the winner of the weight, like if you win, I'm the 77 kilo ADCC world champion, 10K, right? And it's 2024, right? And the prize is still $10,000, right? For the most prestigious grappling event on the earth. And some of the arguments is like, okay, it was $10,000 for the prize money back when it was in like high school gymnasiums with like 300 people in the crowd. Now they're selling like over 10,000, 15,000 seats to it. And it's still, and they're like, well, now we're putting on bigger promotion. We're putting it in the T-Mobile Arena and stuff like that. So that costs more and stuff. And like they do all this like big promotional things. And there were even like, I don't know how true it is, but it sounded like it could have been possibly, actually it was 100% true. The drummers for the walkouts, they do like these big like boom, 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 boom drums. We're getting paid more than the athletes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I mean? Because the only athlete getting paid,
right, is the winner.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure if second and third get anything. They might get something, but I'm not sure on that. But whatever. So Craig Jones has some grievances with that, and I think that there's some validity to it.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're spending more money on the production and stuff like that. But like the prize was 10K back when you were selling 200 tickets,
right.
And now you're selling 15,000 tickets.
Right.
And stuff like that. The prize money should definitely go up.
Well, not only that, but so like the the amount of money the ADCC is bringing in has gone up, but also like just look at inflation over time. You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, you got to pay these dudes more.
Yeah.
Now, real quick, because I think we're both going to be pretty similarly aligned on wanting to see athletes get paid more. Should we just take a second to play devil's advocate and then play the other side?
Yeah, you can go for it.
Okay, so I think the argument is, and I'm going to use the UFC as an example here because I'm much more familiar with the UFC than ADCC. But so if you look at the UFC, they pay out what I believe it's like 5 to 10% to the athletes, whereas I think like other sports promotions pay like closer to like 40-50%. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And
because they have like their collective bargaining agreements,
right.
And I'm not sure about like there's like there's the Ali Act with boxing and things like that.
Right. So and we can get some comparisons to boxing as well there. So I think that the reason why like boxers get the high level boxers get paid so much, and why like athletes in other sports get such a large percentage of that organization's money, is because the UFC is like it's so hard for people to understand, especially people who just got into the UFC. But like you were talking about earlier, even 10 years ago or whatever, like it wasn't even legal in PA.
Yeah.
Like this has grown drastically. And part of the reason it's grown is because the UFC's marketing and promotion team has really done a good job of snowballing it and made the sport accessible, right? So the fact that you could even be a fighter and make a living is absolutely thanks to what the UFC did, and they did need money that could have been going to the fighters in order to make that happen. And I think the other kind of argument that they make, which by the way, I just want to preface this is not my argument. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm always on the side of fighter pay. But I think the other argument that they make is that because they do such a good job of promotion, that leads into other avenues, right? The UFC can produce stars, whereas boxing, stars have to be made to make the fight.
Yeah.
Right? So, there is an argument to be made that like, we can turn, GSP into a star, and then he can go on and have all these sponsorships and be in movies and whatever. So I think like that's kind of the argument from the other side.
Yeah, and that argument got squashed pretty quickly as far as grappling is concerned, as the guys who make the most money in grappling, for example, somebody who we'll be talking about today, Nicky Ryan, Gordon Ryan's younger brother. So let's just jump into that real quick, and then we'll bring him up again. But he is an ADCC competitor. He was the youngest ever ADCC competitor. And, I think he's been in the past 2 ADCCs, and he was going to be in this one, and he opted to go to the Craig Jones Invitational instead. And he was saying like, and we're going to get into why these people are jumping. But one of the things was he was saying like, it's like, it's 10,000 to win the ADCC, and it's not necessarily like gonna like bump you as much as you think. He was like, I make more money than most all ADCC champions.
Right.
And he's like, and he's never even placed
right
at it. And he's like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like being an ADCC champion is not like gonna like,
it
doesn't automatically. Yeah. He's like, yeah, like, dude, he's like, I make more money than most ADCC champions.
So I guess then like hearing the argument
as far as like seminars and like videos and like stuff like that,
promotional stuff that
and
he does,
sponsors, all that stuff.
So in your mind, do you think that like the promotional beast that is the UFC, do you think that's like you can't really make that equivalence to ADCC? Like they don't produce stars.
Correct, they don't. And the other thing, not that they don't. They don't at the level that you would think, and especially I'm like think about it like this: it's every other year.
Right.
It's every other year. Like there's a UFC event nearly every weekend. It's every other year that there's an ADCC event, and then on top of that, there's trials to get there, and there's 2 of those. So in a 2-year span, there's 3 events. There's 2 trials for, and you compete in the trials in your country, right, or in your continental. Yeah. So like it's not like there's a lot. Then they recently started doing opens and stuff. But like those are also just like they're not like prize money,
right,
or anything like that.
Also like no ADCC champ. Like I can't tell you the last time I saw an ADCC champ in a movie. Whereas again, you see UFC fighters in movies and stuff all the time.
Here goes the other thing too: is like, so like if you win ADCC, you won 4 matches, right? And these are the best 16 in the world. So each one of these matches could have possibly have been a super fight, right? So you have to win all 4 to win $10,000. One of Craig Jones's argument was I would get paid so much more to just do a match against one of them.
Right.
You know?
Individually.
So it's like, oh, yeah, but I have to beat 4 of you to get 10K. Or we can go on Who's Number One. We can go on the Fight Pass Invitational. We can go on Polaris. And I'm going to get paid more than 10K just to have win or lose.
Right, yeah.
Just to have a match against you.
Also.
Right? So, like, how are they able to afford that?
Yeah.
How are they able to pay me more to just do a match against you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Rather than have this whole tournament that brings in all these fans on the same streaming service that this match that I'm getting, that Who's Number One's being streamed through, right? They're able to pay me more for that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So what Craig Jones is doing is he has this tournament and he has, like, you know, some investors or whatever, and every athlete in the tournament is getting paid to compete in the tournament.
And how much are they getting paid?
$10,001.
So to win ADCC,
you would make less money than you would to compete. To
I
go
love
and get submitted first round.
Dude, I love
You're
that.
getting $10,001 to compete.
And also, I don't think we discussed this yet. What's the grand prize?
$1 million.
And are there $2 million payouts? One for the lower weight class?
There's $2 million, two $1 million payouts. And then also, so there's not a women's division, but there is a women's super fight. I do not know the payout of that. But, I mean...
Is it Gabby?
No. Gabby's actually doing a match against Craig Jones.
Wait, they're actually?
Yeah, they're doing a match.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We're going to get into the competitors because it's pretty impressive. I want
to stay on the money for a minute here. Okay, so first of all, I find it hilarious and like petty.
Craig Jones is like he's going to go down as one of the most notorious trolls of all time.
Dude, yes. And honestly, I think that
he was just on Rogan. He brought $1 million cash, and Rogan was like, "I've never seen $1 million in cash," and he threw it on the table.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like, and Craig was like, and they were like, "Man, these guys must really trust you." And he goes, like, you know, he makes a joke about them, and he was like, "I was going to bring prop money." But he was like, I knew you would call it out for prop money, so I brought real money. So $1 million, and they're like, how long does it take to get it? And they said that like his guy called and was like, I want $1 million, and they're like, oh, it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks. And he goes, get it to me tomorrow, or I'll find a bank that does. And yeah, then he got it.
Dude, Craig Jones he's got to be one of the most entertaining characters of like our generation of combat sports.
Oh
like,
yeah.
And also, I love the pettiness of it, like. I want to dive into that too, but like the fact that he made it $10,001. Oh man, all right. There's 2 ways to go. One is I want to know about the pettiness between him and Mo, which Mo is the guy who runs ADCC.
Yeah,
and I also
like
want to know about
organizer.
the finances and like how he's able to make this happen. And I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he donating all the profits to charity?
Yeah, they're going to be a non-profit, so all the profits will be donated to charity. Now, you got to think of what that really means, though. Like,
right.
How much are you paying yourself? Like, there's your salary, right? And then it's like, okay, here goes what's left over.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's the non-profit aspect that like the business doesn't retain a profit, but you pay the athletes, you pay the people who work, right?
All the organizers,
everybody gets paid,
right?
And then whatever is left over.
Yeah, it's not like he's coming out zero necessarily.
Yeah.
So, but okay, hold on, wait. Because those are the 2 big things that I have questions about. Let's start with the fast one. Where's he getting this money?
So there's an investor who's being silent right now. And what Craig said on Rogan was he's not putting out the name of the investor because there's a lot of like, you know, backlash and things of that. And Craig's like, I want it all directed towards me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And now, are you under the impression that it's like one dude who's just like doing all of this and donating the money?
Yeah, and I feel like I know who it is.
Anyone that you can say on?
I mean, it's just a guess. I have no idea. No one's confirmed or nothing, but I think it's Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, interesting. Are they close?
You know, I don't know, but like there's like
Zuck's in jiu-jitsu,
through like,
so like
well, there's that, and through like Volkanovski and like stuff like that.
Oh, that's right, because
and like then Izzy and stuff. There's like some like
that would make
because Craig's
lot of sense.
Volk's jiu-jitsu coach.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, and he helps Izzy out too and stuff like that. So Craig's got his UFC connections. You know, Zuckerberg's into jiu-jitsu, into MMA.
in the
Yeah.
same crowd. That's a really
Yeah.
good guess.
So it's just like, it's my guess, but like, it could easily not be. Like the amount of money that's being put up, it's not really like that audacious. Like there's people out there who have that.
Oh yeah, like I mean, what do you think the whole thing costs for the venue, the prize money, just the cost to run it and everything? Like, what are we thinking? Like 3 to 5 mil?
Yeah, I was thinking 5 mil,
Yeah. So like, for
but definitely three to
Zuckerberg-
five. Like,
Yeah, if you're Zuckerberg,
yeah.
you're just like,
or I mean, like there's other people out there who like
oh yeah. There's other people who have
there's
that
people
money.
who are nameless to us.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
have money that
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that is also not an issue.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
With that said, I think that's a really good guess.
Especially if you can recoup. If you think you're gonna
yeah.
like potentially break even, or like you think eventually, like, and it might even be a passion project that you're hoping to just, maybe not lose too much on,
Right.
type of thing, something like that.
So then my second kind of question and what I'm wondering about is what is the like personal or what's going on between Craig and Mo?
I you're gonna be upset at this. I don't really know. I think it's honestly just like,
It's literally just fighter pay.
yeah, like
Okay.
it's just like prize money pay and stuff like that.
Because
Yeah.
that's one thing I'd seen something on Instagram Craig posted and he was like oh yeah, like we're gonna, or Mo commented on it and said we're gonna talk or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I can't like remember all the little details there, but like
So the thing is there's arguments to made of why go head to head.
okay, yeah, let's dive into that then.
Why go head to head? Should we
Mm-hmm.
dive into that right now, or should I run through some competitors who have switched?
Well, let's talk about why you would switch before we talk about who switched.
Okay. All right. So why go head to head, right? Like, what if you did this a month before, a month later, whatever. That way the athletes don't have to choose between the two. They can go do their prestige of ADCC before like trying to go get this big prize money and things of that nature. And, some people, and I mean, there's arguments to be had on both sides, but I think it's important to go head to head because I think you need to take away from the ADCC to like,
Prop up.
to prop up this. And, if you're doing it, with like good virtues, like in mind and stuff, you're like, hey, like, and I think it's to push the ADCC to pay more.
Yeah.
Right. Which, and it's believed that they can. It's believed that
Right.
they're not losing money on this and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of important, like,
I
like,
agree.
to see.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
And kind of again, if you just run a tournament at another time, like you're saying, that pays more, like does it incentivize ADCC to actually pay them their athletes more? Like, not really.
Not really, because there are events that already pay their athletes more already. Like that exists. Events that pay more in prize money exist outside of ADCC, and they do not have. For example, oh my God. Oh my goodness. I wish I could pull my phone up, but my phone's the camera. It's like the PJF or the PGF, Professional Grapplers League, maybe the PGL. I'm going to say PGL. It's got a Fight Pass connection with it, but they do like this super cool event where it's a whole week long, right? They get 20 jiu-jitsu athletes. Everybody's the same weight class. The recent one was season 6. A buddy of mine, Nathan Haddad, was on it. And what they do is they got 20 athletes, and you get drafted. Like there's 4 teams. Like the coaches are like, like famous people, like Eddie Bravo takes a team, like and so forth. And then they draft you into 4 5-man teams. So they do like a straight up NFL style draft, right? And then you have your teams, and then those teams do matches against the other teams, right? And whatever team wins the regular season, that team gets $100,000. All right, which is 20,000 split up between the 5 competitors, and then that's not it. So right there, you're getting more
Exactly.
than you would winning You're getting more. You're getting as much as you would winning ADCC twice.
Yeah.
Right. Then after that, they finish off with the eight athletes with the best record. They go to the playoffs, which is now individual. It's now not team related. And then there's an 8-man bracket for another $20,000. So if you were on the winning team and you won that, you got $40,000, off of a week. So like bigger prize money. And it's like, okay, well, if you didn't, you get 0. But you get like notoriety. You're on UFC Fight Pass. It's all like everything is on. Every match is on YouTube. They do like pre-shows, post-shows. They did like it was like the coolest thing ever. Tremendous job. And shoot, I forgot where I was going with it. But like you know what I mean.
Well, they're
like
still getting that kind of.
but like if you're an ADCC and you don't win it, you also get nothing.
Right.
You know.
So pretty much the only advantage to being a jiu-jitsu athlete, going to ADCC, is for the notoriety of winning what is considered the most prestigious.
Yeah, it's considered it. But you know what would become considered it? If a tournament consistently paid more, then that would usurp it.
Well,
right?
and
I think ADCC originally got it because they were paying like money.
Right.
Right?
And, and also, so the way I'm looking at this is like, let's say that you have all of the best football players in the NFL, right? And then the Canadian Football League starts paying more, but the NFL still looked at as like, no, this is where you go if you really want to, like,
right. Well, over time, when they start losing their athletes to that, when an athlete,
exactly. Well, that's what I was gonna say is if those same athletes now go to the Canadian Football League, well, then you're like, well, no, it's not the best anymore.
Yeah.
And so to kind of stack on what you were saying, I think it is really important for them to have to go head to head and put them on at the same weekend, because then it does take, which I think you're about to get into, a lot of the athletes from ADCC
the good athletes
into Craig Jones.
Right.
And now,
dude, the chance to win $1 million as opposed to the chance to win $10K and the guarantee of $10K.
Exactly.
$10K
and
won.
Now, if it's like, okay, well, we have a handful of the best grapplers over here and a handful of the best grapplers over here, which one's actually more prestigious to win?
Right. Now, I do have a reason why I like ADC to still like be fond of ADCC, and that is anybody can win it. Not anybody can win the Craig Jones.
Oh yeah, you have to be.
The
selected.
ADCC is technically an open tournament.
Right.
Anybody in the world can win the ADCC. Every ADCC year, you watching this, me, you, we all have a chance to win it. You have to be invited to the Craig Jones Invitational.
Right.
As of now, maybe they do something in the future, but anybody can win ADCC because you can win your way in. You don't have to get invited, right? So you don't need like there's the politics or whatever. You show up to East Coast trials, West Coast trials, wherever you are. Maybe you're in South America, trials 1, trials 2, Europe, same deal, Asians, blah, 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 all the same thing. I think there's another one that they do. Maybe not. Maybe there's only 4 continentals. Yeah, I think there's only 4 continentals.
What is it? North America, South
North
America,
South
Europe,
America,
Asia.
Euros, and then like yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but whatever. Anybody can enter those. Those are open tournaments.
That is
you can be
pretty
your
cool.
first day as a wipeout. Like it doesn't matter. Like you show up, you pay your entry fee, you make weight, you can enter. You win that, you're in.
That does give it that like kind of cool like you're saying open like
Right.
Bruce Lee.
That's like
style.
how the Olympics for wrestling are. The
Right.
Olympics and Worlds for wrestling. Anybody, you could go win an Olympic. You have the opportunity to, right?
Yeah.
You go sign up for the U.S. Open. You qualify for the World Team Trials. You win the World Team Trials. You're on Team USA. You're at Worlds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's an opportunity there. So I do still greatly admire that.
Yeah,
about
that is
the
very
ADCC.
cool. That is very
Which I'm not
cool.
saying that the Craig Jones Invitational can't turn in.
Right. Exactly.
Can't turn into that, but it's just not that right now, and I don't think it could be right now. I think you have to kind of do it in this manner for this first like battle kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So you think this is a good point now that we've kind of discussed why an athlete might choose to go Craig Jones?
Yeah.
Who has?
So this is unfolding
Yeah.
as we go. So we're going to talk about some.
First of all, when is this? Because we're recording
So-
this on Saturday. This is coming out today.
All right, I don't know the dates of. So look, for example, ADCC, it'll be in August, right? The dates are set. I just didn't memorize them. The ADCC Championships, it's a 2-day tournament. Day 1 will be on Saturday, August, whatever. Day 2 will be on Sunday, August, whatever.
So basically it's a couple months out. So there's still time for this.
There's still
list
time.
to-
Oh yeah, there's time for this. So there's a Saturday. It's a Saturday and Sunday. The Craig Jones Invitational is the Friday and Saturday. So what Craig Jones is saying, you can come watch the Craig Jones Invitational and then go watch the ADCC Championships after. You can go watch them both. Because I know a lot of people, most people who are going to the ADCC Championships as fans, spectators, they probably already have flights and rooms. That's why he's
Right.
doing it in the same city. He's doing it in the same city at the same time. You know what I mean? because you already booked your travel.
Right.
Right? You already
You're already
booked
gonna
your
be
travel.
there.
You're already going to be there.
Isn't he broadcasting it free on YouTube?
Free on YouTube.
Oh, I love that.
Which, I mean, ADCC is on Flow, which any serious
Right.
combat sport, like anybody who's deep into it like that probably has a Flow account, right?
Right, but still, like, making the barrier to entry 0,
Yeah,
I love that.
I do too, but then what? Like, is it always going to be free?
I hope so. Because
Well, you would hope so, but
he'll
like,
make so much in advertising if it blows up.
I mean, how much would the UFC make in advertising if it blows up? Why isn't that always free? Why do they still do pay-per-views?
That's a good question. I
Yeah,
wonder if they went to more of like a like the NFL. They must make most of their money off of advertising, I assume, right?
I'm sure
And like
TV
their-
rights.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what stops the UFC from doing that?
I mean, they're doing. I mean, I guess the fact that people will still buy pay-per-views.
Yeah, even though they keep upping the price.
Yeah, it's like $90 or something now. It's crazy.
ridiculous.
All right, so let's get into some the confirmed competitors for the Craig Jones Invitational. First, we're going to start off with Luke Rockhold.
Wow.
All right, so Luke Rockhold, obviously former UFC champion, will be partaking in the. Oh, so let's talk about the weight classes. It's two. So here's the other thing. ADCC has 5 weight classes for men. This is their first year where they have 3 for women, and their first year where they're doing an open weight, like an absolute division for women as well. This is only 2 divisions for men right now,
Right.
and I'll talk about the women in a second.
What are the divisions?
Below 80 kilo and above 80 kilo.
And for those
That's
of us in the States, 80 kilos, what, like 170?
176.
Okay, yeah.
176 point some change. All right, so we've got Luke Rockhold. I believe he's a really good grappler. I hear a lot of really great things about him, but I think he's got the invite to bring in the MMA crowd to help.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I think we're going to see more MMA fighters.
Yeah.
A few more. I don't think it's going to be overloaded. I think it's still going to be grappling heavy.
Right. But also,
to
like,
start
Luke
bringing that in.
Rockhold, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is your area, but, like, he's really good at grappling, right? Like,
Yeah, he is really good at grappling.
because, like, Weidman is, he's a Henzo black belt, I assume?
Yeah, and he was an ADC. Well, Matt Serra black belt, and he was an ADCC veteran prior to the UFC.
Really?
Yeah, Weidman was.
I didn't know that.
Was an ADCC.
How good was he at ACC? Like,
He got
competitive?
flying armbar by Vinny Megalesh. No, he was good though.
He was good though.
Yeah.
And then I mean, and obviously it's different in MMA, strikes involved, whatever. But like when Rockhold got him down,
Put him in mount. You couldn't get out of mount. Now, with that being said, it's not like, oh, you suck. You can't get out of mount. Mount is a dominant position for
Right.
a reason. You are limited on your tools, and it's harder to get out of
Especially in
mount
MMA.
in MMA
Yeah.
because the 2 tools that you still have in between you and your opponent are now often occupied defending your head.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, you couldn't get out of mount. I'm like, oh, you mean you put somebody in the second the second position of most control?
And also, my real question is this too. Then, like, how's Rockhold's wrestling? Because think about how he got Weidman down. He baited Weidman into that spin kick and just took his back, right?
Yeah, I'm not too like. I don't want to talk about Luke Rockhold anymore.
Gotcha, my bad.
Yeah, it's like I just said it because it's there. I'm like not interested in that.
I got you.
I think he's great, and I think he's gonna do well and stuff like. But like that is not what's piquing my interest with what is unfolding at.
But the fact that I asked all those questions, maybe that'll draw in the MMA crowd.
You're right. But I don't.
But
like
move
that.
on, move
I don't
on.
Like, I don't like them. All right, so we have strong competitors who have switched. Now everybody else is an ADCC competitor who would be in the championships this year, who has now switched, who is now withdrawn from ADCC to do the Craig Jones Invitational.
And they were going to be in ADCC.
Yes.
It's not like they
Yep.
like had to work their way in. They were already
No,
there.
no, the fields are all set.
Okay.
The fields are, well, now they're changing because people are withdrawing, so they're being replaced.
Right.
All right, but we have Mason Fowler. Mason Fowler won East Coast and West Coast trials.
Wow.
One of them in 2019, one of them in 2022. He was an invite back. He's one of the best grapplers in the world. He just had a closely contested match with Nicky Rodriguez.
So he's going
on
to
UFC
be
Fight
above
Pass.
80 kilos.
Yeah, he's big boy.
Okay.
He's strong in the gi. He's very well respected worldwide. He's definitely a pound for pound, like he's up
Yeah,
there on
he's
the pound
legit.
for pound. We have Joseph Chen, who won the European trials. He's just like a phenomenal. He's young. He's like 19 or 20.
Wow.
He's phenomenal. His passing's like tremendous. He's like technique, like freak, but he's still got some good athleticism to him. As far as like hardcore jiu-jitsu guys go, he's like a favorite. He's like
Okay.
People love to watch him.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's technically sound, but still very exciting.
Yeah.
So like he's like kind of like an underground king type guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like no one doesn't like Joseph Chen.
Right. Right.
All right. Then we have Nicky Ryan. All right. Nicky Ryan was the
Wow.
youngest ever ADCC competitor.
And he'll be in the below 80
Yeah,
kilos?
yeah. So Joseph Chen and Nicky Ryan will be in below 80. You know, and Nicky's like he's just like, you know, real famous. Gordon Ryan's younger brother, very skilled. He's still young himself. Very injury prone, but he just did come off of a huge win. Ooh, when was it? It was 2 weeks ago. It was May the 16th, I believe. On Who's Number One, he submitted, and it was only the third time JT Torres has been submitted as a black belt.
Wow.
JT Torres, 2-time ADCC champ. Nicky Ryan submitted him just 2 weeks ago.
Now, how big is Nicky Ryan? Because I remember he
He
grappled
competes
against...
at 77 kilo, which is 169 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So he'll do sub 80.
Yeah, I thought he was way smaller than that because I remember seeing him grapple Faber. Now, granted, he was like 16 at the time.
Yeah. So that's the thing. When he was a 145er, and now he's an adult. So now he moves up a weight class. And the thing with ADCC weight classes, it goes from 145 to 169,
Right.
to then 194,
Right, yeah.
You know, and then 218, and then
But he's not super undersized, is what I'm getting at.
no, he's not going to be undersized for that. He's going to be a good size. We have William and Andrew Tackett. Those two were the first to make the jump. So I'm a huge fan of the Tacketts.
Wow.
William, they're brothers. There's a third brother. He's a little younger, Caleb. They are just so much fun to watch. William Tackett is a 2-time West Coast Trials champion. In 2022, he won it at 77 kilo. And just this past year, he won it at 88 kilo because his little brother now did 77 and he won it. Andrew Tackett's super exciting. He's like, dude, he's just like a magnet for the back. He's all like crazy, like just all over
Spider
the place.
monkey, tornado.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. William is like known for being like just like crisp technique.
Yeah.
You know, so I do like that they're like kind of like different styles, even though they're brothers. And yeah.
Would you say they're similar to like the Saitiev brothers in wrestling, sort of, or?
Yeah, you could make comparisons there.
Okay.
You could make comparisons. That's cool.
Thought it might have been a little bit of a stretch, but
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, yeah, in some like if you looked at it through one lens, you'd be like, "What are you talking about?" If you look at it through another lens, of like, you could find comparisons between there and that. Yeah, that was interesting. But they were the first two, and on their post, like, you know, like they're both super young. Like Andrew's 21, Williams 23. You know what I mean?
Now hold on, let me ask you this then: Why do we have so many young guys dominating jiu-jitsu at the moment? Is it because
It's a current timeline. Like these kids, for example,
let me ask you this,
we're going
is
to
it
talk
like-
about these kids specifically. They started jiu-jitsu as children,
Okay.
whereas the generation before them, including like myself and stuff, started jiu-jitsu as adults.
But do you think it's like in boxing, like at the lower weight classes, you know, outliers aside, like, you know, Lomachenko or whatever, at the lower weight classes, you kind of have to be in your like 20s.
Yeah, I don't think that.
You don't think it's like
I don't
that?
think that's related at
Okay.
all in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I think it's going to go like pretty much the opposite of that. I think right now, just the way that jiu-jitsu became popular and like the time in which people were investing, like now a lot of these kids, like you got like Cole Bate, the Rotolo brothers, who are notorious, like young, like guns, like coming
Right.
up and stuff, and they were homeschooled, large part to jiu-jitsu, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like, so that's becoming like a thing in like youth jiu-jitsu. To put a focus on an emphasis on jiu-jitsu, and now they're competing against the older guard who started jiu-jitsu. We all started jiu-jitsu at the same time,
Right, yeah.
you know, as adults. So they're hitting like these like you know what I mean? And now as more kids do that, I think like you still have your splash of like, oh my god, this young phenom here and there. I think it'll more mirror wrestling, right? But I actually think it favors an older competitor in jiu-jitsu because
You know,
wrestling needs there. You need to know maybe a little. You could argue you need to know more, and also you could argue wrestling requires a little bit more athleticism, which, you know, like hit your peak and then like go on. Whereas like jiu-jitsu's maybe a little bit. Maybe you could not need as much athleticism, although athleticism certainly will help.
Yeah.
So I think like it's just the way that it's just the timeline of it, right? Like it was all like just people who started like basically as adults or late teens, and now the young guys, they're the guys who like been doing it since they were 4,
Right.
you know. And then as that becomes the norm, right? Like, okay, like you think like when Ty Rotolo and Cade Rotolo and stuff are 32, you think they're not going to be the best they've ever been.
Yeah.
They're going to be the best they've ever been, like right then and there. And there's going to be some 19-year-old phenom, right? But like they were that 19-year-old phenom, and now they've got 13 years experience of being that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like that's
exactly.
what we're going to see. That's what I'm predicting we're going to see. But you'll always have your outliers.
Right.
But Andrew and William Tackett, as I was talking about, like it's been their like they've been looking at ADCC since literally preteen. They were preteen, like little kids, like I want to be an ADCC champion, and they're withdrawing from it. And they said it in their post. They're like, you know, it's been our lifelong dream to be ADCC champion, but the chance at $1 million can do too much for my family.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's a
And
hard
they're like,
argument.
we appreciate ADCC, like, and all that stuff, but like, you know, it can just do too much for my family, and I believe that I can win it.
And how big are these guys? What division are
So
they
William
in?
would be doing 88 kilo, which is 194. He's not huge for that. Andrew would have been doing 77 kilo, which is 169. So I would venture to guess that William will be going above 80, and Andrew definitely will be going below 80.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they both end up in below 80 because William probably can make below 80.
Right. I was gonna say.
And now
like,
they have 2 shots to like get that
Yeah.
million. I think it'd be hard for William to do it up.
there's gonna be some monsters.
Yeah. Which is something that I'm probably going to get into. So we also have Roberto Jimenez, who is the reigning IBJJF Absolute champion. You know, was in the past ADCC. The funny thing about him is when Craig Jones declined to be in this one, Mo was like, we're replacing him with Roberto Jimenez. And then Roberto Jimenez is now like, I'm going with Craig.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so that's everybody of like, those are very good athletes, but those are the least credentialed athletes moving over. Now we're going to get into our big 3 who have moved over. All right, we're going to start with Lucas Hulk Barbosa. Lucas Barbosa is a 2-time ADCC place winner at the under 99 kilo division in 2019. He took 3rd place. And at the most recent ADCCs in 2022, he took 2nd at 88 kilo, losing to Giancarlo Bodoni. He also fights Pro MMA at 170.
Interesting.
So he's actually entering in the under 80 kilo.
Interesting.
Which is crazy because he was under 99. He took 3rd. That's 218 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, and like his name's the Hulk. He was,
Right.
he was a big dude,
big
but he showed
boy.
himself. So very credentialed ADCC
Now,
competitor.
no relation to what you were just talking about, but ADCC is known for not testing for steroids.
Yeah. CGI
Craig
will also
Jones.
not test for steroids. Jiu-jitsu these jiu-jitsu tournaments are, you know, open.
Yeah.
Open performance. Craig Jones is notoriously on steroids, and people like,
I thought he joked about that because he doesn't look like it.
oh, that is hilarious.
He actually is juiced.
He's 100% on steroids. He shares his stack. He's sponsored by a company. All that.
And not just TRT, but like legit steroids.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He said him and Gabby were doing Anavar together on a FaceTime call.
Yo, that's so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's 100% on steroids,
my
and he's
God.
like, and he said it on Rogan. He was like, yeah, everybody thinks thinks because I joke so much, thinks it's a joke.
Yeah.
Because you know, and also like, you know, to me he looks like he's on steroids. To me.
See, here's the thing: is knowing what I know about like physiology and steroids and stuff. He looks like me, like if I was on steroids. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like he doesn't have like great genetics. He'll never be like a bodybuilder.
Exactly. So, but
So
yeah.
he looks like a regular
You're nailing
kind of
it.
athletic dude
You're
who's
nailing
also on some like.
But
Anavar.
like he's like I share my stack for the kids. He's like, because like, you know, like this is a steroid sport, right? Like it's just what it is, it's, you know. And he's like, I share my stack, so like, you know what like a world class guy is taking, so that way you don't come in and think, oh, like, do I got to take this much, and like you're overdoing it.
And that's actually like I was about to like kind of push back on that, but now I'm thinking about it because like, and again, this is a world that I am like very much not in, but I'm like sort of partially aware of just because of like knowing about like, you know, exercise phys and stuff. But like in the bodybuilding world, apparently there's like a big misunderstanding with a lot of like younger kids about how much gear a lot of the pros are
Right.
taking, and so then they'll like take like a gram of test or something.
Right, exactly. And that's what, like, what was his point. He was like, yeah, like, like, to let you know, like, the levels in which is like, opinions on that. I
Yeah,
don't wanna
yeah,
get
we
into
can
it.
talk about that another time. But,
But-
yeah, hilarious.
Okay, so then now Lucas Barboza, as we said, very credentialed ADCC 2-time medal winner, 2 different weight classes. Then we move up to Nikki Rodriguez, 2-time ADCC runner-up. All right, so 2 silver medals in ADCC, 2 finals appearances, only 2. Both times he was there. All right, and then so like that's a big get.
Oh, yeah.
Right, that's a big
That's
get.
a huge one.
He's one of the favorites to win ADCC. To
Yeah,
win the
and he's just
absolute
like a
everything.
big star in the sport. you
Yeah,
know?
huge star in the sport. Then we get into an ADCC champion making the jump to the Craig Jones Invitational, Fionn Davies. All right, so she won the under 60 kilo division. She would have been in the under 55 kilo division for this upcoming one because they changed the weight classes from. So it used to be under 60 and above 60 for women, right? Which is like 132 pounds. So then they added a third. So they did 55 kilos, 65 kilos, and then above 65 kilos, right? So she would have been in the 55 kilo division. So she opted out. She's in the Craig Jones Invitational. There will not be a women's division. So she's doing a match
Okay.
at it.
Right.
All right. So she's probably getting paid pretty well for that
Yeah.
one match.
Yeah.
More than 10 grand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, she's at least getting 10,000. Everybody's getting at least
Right.
$10,001. So those are the big names who have made the jump so far, who are officially confirmed as of the Craig Jones Invitational official Instagram page, which you can follow at CJI Official on Instagram, and you can follow along with us. So yeah, I mean, that's what's going on right now with the Craig Jones Invitational.
Dude, this is very, very exciting stuff. I find Craig Jones to be hilarious, and now doing something like with that entertainment, that I think is valuable, getting these athletes paid, and also, even if nothing else, he's bringing eyes to the sport, because now like there's this beef, you know what I mean, and like. He was just on Rogan. I didn't see that, but like, how many people who like don't really follow grappling that much now have been exposed to this and like, wait, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And like, maybe they tune in and watch, and maybe they get into it, and maybe they start training. Who knows? But like, I mean, I just think this is all fantastic.
Yeah, I think like I'm pro it right now. So, and I did give ADCC their flowers as far as like, being an open tournament and anybody being able to potentially qualify through their process, which isn't a reasonable process if you ask me. It's not like unreasonable. Right. It's like, you can win your way in. So the last thing I wanted to touch on the rule set that Craig Jones Invitational.
Yeah. How are
but
they?
I want to hold off on that.
Okay.
Okay. Because I want to bring in some other information to like. So I'm not a huge fan of the rule set that they're going to use. Before I get into like my argument on why I'm not, I could see some benefits to it. But what they're going to do is 3 5-minute rounds.
That's right. Aren't they doing 10-point must scoring?
Yeah, they're doing 3 5. They're doing like MMA
like
scoring,
that.
3 5-minute rounds, 10-point must system. But what they're doing within those rounds is you would score it like a jiu-jitsu match, right? So like if I got your back, that's 4 points and such. And so there'll be some type of criteria where once you meet a certain threshold, it kind of reminds me of like a major. It's like, if you get a major decision in this round, you get a 10-8 round. You know what I mean? Or like something along those lines. But I like that the entire thing's being scored. Like instead of like a submission only period and a non-submission only period.
I do like that.
But I am not a fan of that utilizing the 10-point must system, which the rationale behind that is to bring in like MMA fans understanding. And I think we're going to go into detail on this later on another episode, but I think they're greatly overestimating an MMA fan's knowledge over the 10-point must system.
Oh yeah,
because they're trying to get that like carryover in between the scoring.
Yep.
You're grossly overestimating how much an MMA fan understands the 10-point must system, especially when you hear someone say that should have been a split decision. All right, so we'll go deeper into the rule set, the pros and cons to it. Primarily the cons, although I am definitely hugely pro Craig Jones Invitational right now. So I just kind of wanted to touch on, just like one more portion of the Craig Jones Invitational. And I can't remember what it was because I was hoping as I said that I would remember it. So Not that
If
important.
it's important, we'll remember for next time.
Yep.
We'll keep
remember. Yep. We'll remember
talking
it for
about this
next
as
time.
it
But yeah,
unfolds.
so we'll hit on that rule set next time, and other things of that nature. Yeah. So keep following along with the Craig Jones. Oh, yeah. Actually, I remember now. So yeah, this is going to be cool. So as we see athletes jump from the ADCC championships into the Craig Jones Invitational, I think that you're going to see specific weight classes move over, right? I think you're going to see a lot of the bigger guys come
Right.
over because plus 80, like, you know, anybody who's doing plus 99, what do they give a crap that it's plus 80?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? The big guys are coming over. I think anybody doing 66 kilos is staying in ADCC.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're like, dude, I'm a 145 or I'm not coming in to 176.
Right, exactly.
I think we're going to see a lot of 77 kilo guys move over because the 77 kilo, 80 kilo, that lines
Same
up really
thing.
good. And I think you're going to see the 88 kilo guys, right? This is going to be like the big
Swing.
swing here. The 88 kilo guys, I think you're going to see the bigger ones who like cut to 88, stay in ADCC because another 8 kilos, 16 plus pounds, that's going to be it. Like if you're already cutting
Right.
to 194, right? Like cutting to 176 is like unreasonable.
Yeah.
But I think you'll see and there are a handful of undersized 88 kilos. And the reason we have these undersized is because like, dude, these weight classes are so spread apart
Yeah.
in ADCC anyhow, right? So like a guy who's like, man, like, dude, like I'm 190 pounds, I'm 188 pounds, like cutting down to 169, you know what I mean? Is like, and up until this year, it was day of weighing.
Right.
You weighed in and competed like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
It's like
a big weight
unreasonable.
cut won't help you.
Yeah, you can't do it. But 176, now we're closer.
Right.
Right? $1 million, now we're cutting.
Now it's worth cutting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you'll see like a divide amongst the 88s going.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll have your smattering of like the big guys who come over. And now the Craig Jones Invitational, they're doing 2 16-man brackets. So it'll be 16-man brackets. So just looking at my list off top, we've got a plus 99, probably a plus 99, and a plus 99, or a plus 80, I'm sorry, plus 80, plus 80. We've got 4 guys who I expect to be plus 80. Nicky Rodriguez has to be
Yeah.
plus 80. Luke Rockhold has to be plus 80. Mason Fowler has to be plus 80. And I'm going to go ahead and guess that Roberto Jimenez, even though he competed at 77 kilo last time, is going to go plus 80 because he was coming in at 99 kilo for this ADCC. So I believe those 4 will be in the plus 80. 3 of them are for sure. And then Lucas Barbosa, who I would have assumed would have been the plus 80, has
Right.
confirmed he's going under 80.
That's crazy.
Nicky Ryan and Joseph Chen are definitely going under 80 because they were 77 kilos. And then we got William and Andrew Tackett. Andrew Tackett's definitely going under 80. And my guess is going to be William Tackett's going to go under 80 as well.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's what I think to look out for. Like, I don't think you're seeing 66s move over. And I think the 77s, I think you're going to see them move over. Heavyweights, you're going to see them move over. 88s, I think it's going to kind of be weight class dependent.
Yeah. Very interesting. I got one more dumb question for you. Do you think, I just saw the video of Dustin Poirier grappling with, what's his name? Brian Shaw, world's strongest man, big giant dude, right?
Oh, okay.
He's 6'8", 400 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
And they're rolling, and I forget where they started and stuff, but during one of them, Brian Shaw gets on top.
Oh, gosh.
And Dustin taps just because he has 400 pounds on top of him,
Yeah.
right? Do you think that we'll ever see some like monsters like that, 6'8", 400-pound dudes, make their way into jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Do you think that someone who, like, you take like a Brian Shaw, you have him train for like a year, right? So he's like decent, but clearly
Gordon
not
Ryan
great.
just trained with them recently.
Okay.
Right? Beat him up, right? But it was very difficult, and Gordon Ryan said it should be illegal for them to train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he was like, you guys don't know nothing, and the difficulty it was
Right.
with you know nothing, like it should be illegal.
And the thing is like the first year of training gets you whatever percentage of
Yeah.
like what you need to like be good. So do you think it's possible that we might see one of these guys, commit themselves to a year or two of jiu-jitsu and then just come in and like shock the world?
We'll see it someday.
Interesting. I would love to see that.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm a fan of freak show stuff.
Yeah, I'm not, but whatever. I'm a fan of more weight classes.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, my favorite weight classes to watch are like the middleweights and below.
I mean, I agree. When it comes to combat sports, like especially MMA, like the best MMA happens, 135 to 155. I mean, you can make an
Some
argument.
70.
70 and 85, you'll have some guys who are like still really good and athletic, but they're just a little bit bigger, and that's fun. But as soon as you start getting 205 heavyweight, it's like, it's fun. I love it, but it's a different sport.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, cool. Well, that was another episode of Listen to Your Coaches. A little current events blast out there, and we'll see you next time.